Yeah, it's cool to see how we can use loops to iterate over a sequence of elements. It's really nice to know that, and show you that in the future chapters we will use them a lot to print onto the screen our projects from the GitHub API. So now it's time to learn how to actually make the application react to user inputs. What I mean with that is when the user comes on our website and visit the page, they interact with. They click buttons, they hover their mouse on elements, and View provides a straightforward directive called Vion that we can use to listen to this kind of elements triggered by the user. And that's going to be quick and easy. The Vion directive let us run a function and execute a block of code when the user performs an action on our page. So like I said, clicks on the button, over the mouse on some element, or press a specific key on the keyboard. So the next step is to learn how to use it, and what its syntax looks like, and what we can do with it. So let's move into code mode. Okay, we said that we can use this beyond directive, but how can we write it actually? So we write it like that. We have beyond, so that's the name of the directive. We have column, and after the column we can specify an argument. So the name of an argument in this case will be the name of one of the events we want to listen for. So event name, and then after the equal sign we have a pair of quotes, and inside quotes we have method name. So that's just a representation of the syntax. It's not going to work in this case. And the short form, so we have two different forms, both are equivalent, both do the same thing. You will find one or the other. I prefer the short form because it's quicker when you have to type it. So event name, and then equal sign, method. This method is just a method it's just the name of a method that we can define inside the method's object in the view instance, and as any method it can accept parameters. So if we have parameters, we can have the parentheses, and inside parentheses specify the parameters. So like param1, param1, and param2, etc. So that's the syntax. So in that's the theoretical syntax, but so in practice what we have is this. So let's imagine that we want to create a liking system. So our projects have an art icon, and we can click on it and increase the amount of likes that this project has. So we could have like a div, and inside the div we can have an icon, and we're gonna have a class for this icon of let's see if it's correct. No, try to remember it, but I have a snippet for that. Earth. Okay, so that's the icon that we have. And if we look into the browser now, we have this small heart icon, and we can put also the likes counter. So something like that, likes. And for now we set it to 0. So what I've done is just writing in here, so it's coded for now. But when the user clicks on this heart icon, what I want to do is increase a likes counter that we will define here for each project inside the project object. So let's create it first. So we have a likes property, and we set it to 0, and also for the other one. Okay, so both objects have a likes property, we can replace this hardcode value with project dot likes. So it's still 0 because we have set it like that inside the each project. So if we go here and we try to increase it, we see that it's going to increase. So we increase the value, and all we want to do is when the user clicks here, we increase this value. So how we do that? We do it using the beyond directive, and we listen for a click event. So let's do it. So add click, so that's the attribute and the name of the event, and then we need the name of a method. So like project can have something like that. So when the user clicks here, we trigger this method, and we don't have this method yet, so we need to create it. Create it like that. Okay, and let's do it simply a console. Okay. So let's try it out and see what happens to our project. So we click on the arc icon, and nothing is going to happen. Let's see if we have any typo. Like project, no, it seems fine. Console log clicked. So we click on the event and execute. Sorry. I said we needed a column after the @ sign, but we don't. So we don't need a column here. So we just need the @ sign, and everything works like fine, just fine. Yeah. Sorry about that. So we have this one, and every time we click on the project, I'll show you. So every time we click on a project, we have 2, 4, 6, and we have the same for this one. It's increasing fine. So click once, and I've click the other one, and I've clicked. So every time I click on one of these, it show me this value clicked. So now what we could do is just to increment our likes, and we can do that by simply increasing this value. We could do likes. Let's first grab the project. And how do we grab the project? We need to have a constant and grab these projects. And then what? The project will be or at the index 0 or at the index 2, 1 or 2, depending on how many projects we have. So what we could do is have an index here. So if I have an index, const project, so if I have an index, it means that I need something here. So we have an index parameter for this method, and it means that every time I click on this on one of the projects, I need to figure out which project I'm clicking on, and I do that using the index from here. So we can pass a parameter, and let's see if we can show which project we clicked. And let's see. So clicked on project 0, clicked on project 1, and so on. So I'm clicking on the project and it clearly shows me which project I have clicked on. So now that we have everything in place, we can grab this project and get likes and increase it of 1 every time it's clicked. So let's see if it works now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, and it changes here too, because we still have the console log that tells us where we clicked. So we clicked 4 times on the item number 1 and 5 times on the item number 0, which is the portfolio. So let's clear this up, let's refresh the page, and of course everything is gone, and we can in the future implement something that makes this data persistent. But for now, that's how we could use this beyond directive. Again, since I had some styles to the page, so it looks a bit better than before. And now I want to talk how to access the original event triggered by the user when he clicks on one of our element. And to do that, we use a special variable called event, which is a variable defined for us by view. So we can refer to it using the $sign before the name of the variable. So let's go into coding mode again, and the variable will be like that. Let's put it here. So we will call it a variable like that, event. And this variable is a special variable, as I said, and will give us access to the original event. So let's see it in action. Let me comment this out, like not just the original. Okay, so with this variable, we can pass this variable like that to our method call, so event. So that's gonna be the special variable, and of course inside the method, in the methods object, we need to refer to it, and we can have another parameter like event, and to see its content now, we can simply log it to the console and say event. So now we should be able, when we click on one of these art icons, we should see the name of the event that was triggered by the user. So here we have the mouse event, and in there we have a bunch of different properties that we can access. And so now that we made our how to make our VM directive work, and have used it to create a simple likes functionality for our simple project, we can improve it. We can add some more functionalities to it. And to do that, I'll show you how to use the key modifiers in the next example, so that we can increase the likes when we hit the left mouse button, and decrease them when we click the right one, and also hide this context menu. So let's see it. But first, what's an event modifier? With events, Vue provides access to a number of events modifiers. They are divided in 4 main groups, and with that, we can add these modifiers to a directive to change the way our event behave. They are like a postfix that can be also changed using the documentation, and they are divided into 4 categories: the events, event modifier, key modifier, system modifiers, keys, and mouse button modifiers. We will use the mouse button modifiers together with the event modifiers, prevent, for instance, later on, to prevent these context menu to appear when we right click on this element actually. So that's one of the use cases that we could implement in our examples. Inside the event modifiers, we have the stop, the prevent event modifier, which is a modifier that prevents the usual behavior of an event, the captured self, the once, the passive event modifier, and inside the key modifiers we have things like enter, tab, delete, ask, space, and more of them. And we can use these modifiers like together with the key up listener to listen when these keys are pressed, or use the key modifiers in combination with the click event listener for a click plus space, for example. So when the user clicks on an element and press enters together. Then we have system modifiers, and with these modifiers we can trigger mouse or keyboard event listener when the corresponding key is pressed. So for instance, the user clicks on an element and press Ctrl or press Alt or press Shift. So one of these. And then we also have the mouse button modifiers, and these are responsible for listening when, for instance, the user clicks on the button using on an element using the left mouse button, or using the middle one, or using the right one, and we can combine these modifiers together. And I'll leave a link in the description of the video if you want to learn more about them. For us now. We will use the mouse button modifiers together with other modifiers to implement a different feature here. So when we left click on the button, on the icon, we want to increase the likes. When we right click, we want to decrease them. So let's have a look how we could implement that. In the previous example, we used the beyond directive to trigger a mouse event listener aiming to simulate a like on a project, but the user was able to add as many likes as he wanted, and every time we refresh the page, all these likes were gone. In the next example, we will do things a bit differently. First, we will prevent the user from adding more than one like to each project. Then we will let the user remove a like. And finally, we will keep these likes persistent. So even when we refresh the page, the likes will be still there. So let's get started. This time we will work with mouse button modifiers to listen for the left mouse button click to trigger the add like behavior, and the right mouse button click to trigger the remove behavior. So first we need to make a small change. So this one is not gonna be like project anymore, but it's gonna be like add like, and we can change and so update also the method inside the instance. So we have a method to add like, but we say that we want to trigger this behavior only when the left mouse button is clicked. So we can add the mouse button modifier left. Okay, so this is going to listen for the left mouse button clicks, and we also say that we want to listen for right click. So click dot right. So that's going to listen for the right button click, because we use the right, which is the a mouse button modifier. So we will trigger a different action here, so a different method, and we will call it remove like. Remove like. Okay. And let's open up the parentheses, and let's clear this bit for now. And let's clear this bit for now. We will implement it in a different way for this example. So I'd like, and let's do a console log of what of the project. So I will pass project parameter here. Want to know which project we are clicking on. No, I don't want to know the index of the project, just the what project I want to be aware of. And I'll do the same for the remove, and I will console log both these actions like remove. So here we need to add the remove like method and pass the project. And here we need to separate this with a comma. So here we will console log project and say remove. And here we will say add like and dislike, like and dislike. Okay, so now when we click with the left mouse button, we should see the project, the whole project where we clicked on, and this string, so like or dislike, depending on which mouse button we use. So let's browse the page and see if it works. So left click on the heart icon, and we trigger the like method, and inside we have the observer, which gives us the likes and the title of the project as well as the description. If we right click, we triggered correctly the other method, so the remove like, and in fact we see the string dislike, and sure enough we will see the portfolio. And when we click with left mouse button on the other one, so on the Twitter clone, we should see a different title, and indeed we see the Twitter clone. And when we right click on it, we of course see this context menu, but we will get rid of it in a minute. And so we right click on the Twitter clone project, and so we know that our function at the basic level is working. So now what we need to do for the next step is could be done in two ways. First thing, we need to get rid of the context menu, and we do that either using or chaining another modifier, another key modifier, which is the prevent event modifier. So it's in the section of the event modifiers, and we can just write, we can just chain it like prevent, like that, and let's see if it works. So what I've done is just add this dot prevent, so chain this key modifier, so this event modifier next to the mouse button modifier. So let's see if it works. So left click and we trigger the like, right click and we trigger the dislike, and we have no context menu. So we are preventing the default behavior of this event. The other option would be to do something like that. So not use this one, so not use the event modifier, and pass to this to this method, the original method, so using the event special variable, so the one we talked about a few minutes ago, and then in here say event, and if we console log the event, of course we will get the whole event that we triggered, but we could also do like event dot prevent, and that should do the trick as well. Let's see if it works. So left click, we got the light, and it's not working because prevent is not a function. Let's fix that. I know what it is. So we need to add exactly a event.prevent default, not prevent. Let's go to coding and prevent default. So that's the method that we can call on this event. And if we want to double check that, we could log to the console the event and see what we get. So right click on the part, so we got the event, and we correctly got the modify, the dislike, and then in here we should see prevent default somewhere. Default prevented true. So that's the property that changes depending on what we write inside our code. So we wrote correctly this method here, event.prevent default, and that property is set to true. And if we remove this and check again, click on the heart using the right mouse button, and then we open this event and we look for default prevented, it says false. So that's how we could do it without using the modifiers. So let's put it back. I'll use the modifier because it's easier, and we can get rid of this, and also we can get rid of this, and we can get rid of this special variable, and we can keep this cleaner. Okay, so we left click and we trigger this method, and we right click and we trigger this method. Now we need to implement the actual functionalities, and we can do that. So the first step we could do is to, of course, increase the likes. So we clicked on a project, so we have the project here, can access to the single project, and we can say likes plus plus, and then let's see if it works. So we click and we increase this one, we click and increase this one. Now when we right click, we want to prevent the default, as we said before, and get rid and remove, so decrease the likes. So let's go back to coding. Let's add the prevent modifier, so we can prevent the default behavior, and then let's implement the dislike. So we want to right click and decrease likes, so we could simply do like project likes minus. And let's see if it works. So we can click and increase, we can click with the right button of the mouse and decrease, and it works for both. Works for both items here. So we are ready to move to the next step, which is make our data persistent. To do that, I use the local storage API, that will save data as a key value pair inside the client browser, and mainly we will use two functions from the local storage. So the local storage has a method to get items from the local storage or to set items from the local storage. We can also remove items from the local storage using the remove item. So we will use get item, set item, and remove item to perform our needs and make the data persistent. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to make the first bit of the code persistent. I mean, the method add like should first check if there is a property, a key value pair inside the local storage for the current project, and in case there is not, it should set it and increase the like amount. So when the user clicks on this icon to add a like using the left mouse button, so we can do that, like check if the current project is in the local storage. Then we could, if it is inside the local storage, we can increase. If it's not, first is check if the current project is not in the local storage. So if it's not in the local storage, we can set the project in the storage and increase the likes count. And yeah, that's pretty much what we should do. So first, let's check if the local storage has this item in it. So what item should we check for? Look for? We should look for something like our project title, probably. So we could do like const project title equals to project title. So we have a project object here, because when the user clicks on with the left button on the art icon, we pass the current project object to the function. So the add like function accepts one parameter, which is the object, and we can grab the title like that, and then check if this title is in the local storage, which means that at some point we should set this in the local storage. So if it's in the local storage, we should check if it's not in the local storage. So if it's not in the local storage, we will add to it. So local storage set item, what we can do is project title, we can add this as a key, and then as a value we could say, you could say true, but when we retrieve this from local storage, we will get it as a string, so we will need to convert it if we need. So we also, it's not in the local storage, we set the item in the local storage and we increment the likes counter. So we have the likes counter like here. We increment the likes, so we set the likes to 1 and we set the item in the local storage. So now it's in the local storage and we are good to go. So this bit should be moved up here. Okay, so this like could be here at the top, and then we can comment it out. And for the opposite method, so this one, we should do something different, so the opposite. Let's first check if this works. And let's see. Save. Let's go to the browser and let's open the inspector. Check the local storage. So the local storage for now is empty. There's nothing in it. Its length is 0. Let's click to this project and also to this one. We can increase and decrease, but it decreases too much. We will need to fix this too. So refresh the page. Let's open the local storage and see what we got. So we have two items this time. We have Twitter clone set to true and portfolio set to true. So now we clicked on each project to like them, and we have set these two in the local storage, which means we need to retrieve this information when our view instance is loaded. So when the element is mounted, we should check for these two keys in the local storage and set the likes accordingly. So let's do that. Let's move to the coding. So to do that, what I'm going to do is to introduce a new argument here, which is lifecycle hook, and specifically the mounted. This function, what it's going to do is to let me inject code when the root element is mounted on the view instance. I will explain in the feature section more in details what are lifecycle hooks. For now, just follow along. So what I need to check for each of these projects is if the element title is in the local storage, and if it's in there, I should set the element likes to 1. So let's grab the projects and let's do it for each. So every element should be set to project. So at each iteration, the single object is saved to the project variable, and then I can grab it to check if the element title, so if the project title is in the local storage. So let's check if the local storage get item project title. So if this is present in the local storage, it would be different from null, because when we check for something in the local storage that doesn't exist, it's going to be null. So if it's not null, we can say that the project likes is going to be equal to 1. So if the user has clicked on this element, it means that he liked it. So we can set this to 1. Otherwise, it would be 0. Let's check if it works like that. So we liked both projects before, and then when we refresh the page in the browser, we see that we have 1 and 1 set on each of these two projects. So it means that it's working. Now what we should do is work on the remove like function. So this one, it should be first, it should check if the project likes is greater than 0, then and only then we should remove likes or decrease like, decrement the value of the likes property, and also check if there is actually a project title. So the current project title is in the local storage, because if it's not, we cannot remove anything. So let's do that. So let's first grab the project title like we did here. So we grab the project title, and then we check if project is the current project, the one where the user clicks, and we check if the likes counter is greater than 0, so we can decrement. Let's first do that. So I'll let you decrement only if it is greater than 0. If it's already 0, you should be decrementing anything. So now it's 1. I can decrement to 0 and nothing more, and also this one, but I should also, when I decrement, remove this item from the local storage, if it is in the local storage. So I should probably add the second condition here and say and local storage get item, local storage dot get item, project title. This is going to return true if it's in there, otherwise it's gonna return null. But it's gonna return true as a string. Let's transform this to a boolean. So it's gonna be true or false. So if it's true or false, if it's true, that is in the local storage, I'll decrement the value and I'll remove it from the local storage. So next time it's no longer in there, and I can add a new like or remove it. So local storage, remove item, and the key of the item is going to be the project title. Okay, like that. And it should work as expected. Let's check if it works. So let's move. So I cannot increment anymore because it was already set to 1. I can decrement and increment again. It seems works. Let's see, local storage. So the local storage has only Twitter, because this one is set to 0, this one is set to 1. And now let's remove Twitter and see what's in the local storage. Now it's empty. Now let's check again, and there is one item which is the portfolio, and it seems the code is working. So what I've done is now, let's review what I've done now. So first we have stored the project title into a constant, and then we use this constant to check if the item was inside the local storage using the get item. Since this get item returns a true, because that's how we set it, but it returns a true as a string, so I need to convert it to a boolean to make this happen. And also I checked if the current project like is greater than 0, so we cannot decrement under the 0, so a negative value. And so if both conditions are true, I can decrement the likes and bring them to 0, and remove the key from the local storage, so the local storage will be emptied. So altogether, that's what it looks like, and it seems working correctly. And our HTML file is still the same, nothing changed. The difference here is that we no longer need the index. Now we could simply do that and clean it up a little bit. And now that we learned key modifiers, loops, and a lot of new concepts, we can move forward to the next topic, and which is the two-way data binding, two-way model binding using the vModel directive, and start building our first project, which is the Twitter clone. I'll see you in the next video.